It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning and welcome to Monday Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 8th day of November 2021. I'm Chillie Falls, coming to you from Bedford County, Virginia, Central Virginia area. Typical fall weather here, unfortunately. But that's what's going on this side of the world. Today is National Harvey Wallbanger Day. Now, some of you may not know what a Harvey Wallbanger is. It's a kind of a fruity drink that recognizes that is made with 3 parts vodka and 1 part Galliano and 6 parts orange juice. So it's a fruity tasting thing. You pour it into a highball glass and you garnish it with an orange slice and a maraschino cherry. So you know what to do, guys. Today's National Harvey Wallbanger Day. So break out the bottle of vodka and fix one. Okay? All right. Ship sailing from U.S. ports today. Up in Bayonne, Anthem of the Seas leaves on an 8-nighter. Down in Port Canaveral, Independence of the Seas on a 4-nighter. Disney Dream on a 4-nighter. Carnival Elation on a 5-nighter. And by the way, the Carnival Elation always has, when it sails from Port Canaveral, a lot of the folks on that have done a 3-day land portion out of Orlando and then tie into the 5 days on the Carnival Elation. Down in Port Everglades, that's Fort Lauderdale for you uninformed folks. Allure of the Seas on a 6-night. Down in Port Miami, Freedom of the Seas leaves on a 4-night. Celebrity Summit, a 5-night. Crystal Serenity, a 7-night. And Disney Magic, a 5-night. Over in Tampa, Serenade of the Seas on a 5-nighter. Galveston, Adventure of the Seas on a 4-nighter. And Carnival Breeze on a 5-nighter. All right. In the news today, red or blue? Who was hit the hardest? We got a COVID report card coming up that will reveal all on that one. Celebrity Constellation sailed from Tampa yesterday. That was the big deal yesterday as far as a new cruise ship sailing. Of course, there were several, but all the Celebrity hasn't been in Tampa for years, like 13 years or something. So Celebrity Cruise Line is now sailing out of Tampa with the Constellation. San Juan Cruise Port is now open. And a Los Angeles cruise forecast for 2022 and much more here this morning on Monday Travel and Cruise Industry News. Before we get to that, from our lovely Elizabeth on location, put your thinking caps on, folks. Actually, she and I disagreed on this one, not on what the port was, but she says, Hot Air Tom is going to get that in no time. And I said, let's think about this. So Elizabeth on location thinks Hot Air Tom's going to get this like that. And I'm saying, I think it's a little more difficult. Anyway, it's an old picture. Don't worry, I've got the new picture. But that's, of course, always, that was actually back when Hot Air Tom had his original toes and things. You know, he's had surgery on both feet recently and put wires and braids and stitches and stuff in his toes. Okay. Now, here is the current day. All right. So that's your guess. Guess the port. That's the current. That's the old. And Hot Air Tom is supposed to be the first to get it. So we will see on that as we go along here this morning. So still have to look at the weather. Not as serious as it's been, but that's a non-tropical low-pressure system located a couple hundred miles southeast of Cape Hatteras. System is forecast to move east-northeastward during the next several days. It could gradually lose its frontal characteristics by the middle of the week. Thereafter, the low could acquire some subtropical characteristics while it moves eastward or east-northeastward over the open waters of the central Atlantic. Chance of formation in the next 48 hours is near zero, 20% over the next 5 days. So that's clearly that winding down, I think, is what we're getting out of this. Same out in the Pacific. Both have strengthened. As of 3 a.m. Central Standard Time, the center of now tropical storm Terry was about 650 miles south of Manzanilla, Mexico, of course. Terry is moving toward the west-northwest at 14 miles an hour. A westward to a west-northwestward motion is expected for the next few days. Maximum sustained winds are now about 40 miles an hour. They were up around 50. Slow weakening is forecast during the next 48 hours, and then it's expected to become a depression probably by later today. Central pressure is 1,006, and then it's just going to go away. Now, Tropical Storm Sandra was located about 740 miles southwest of Baja, the tip of Baja, California. Sandra is moving toward the west-northwest at 7 miles an hour, and this motion is supposed to continue through today. Turn to the west is forecast for tomorrow. Maximum sustained winds are about 40 as well. Gradual weakening is forecast during the next couple of days, and Sandra is expected to be a depression later today, degenerate to a remnant low by early tomorrow, and dissipate totally by Wednesday. Pressure is also about 1,006. So that's the weather. Hopefully the weather will be done, by tomorrow. We just won't mess with it until April or something like that. Okay. A little bit of confusing on the times again today. We changed the clocks back, and I thought I had a handle on it until I talked to Elizabeth on location this morning, and I come to find out that Cozumel is now Eastern Standard Time. That makes absolutely no sense to me, knowing the location of where Cozumel is, that it's Eastern Standard Time now. Just totally confusing. The other thing that I'm confused about is not this computer, which the clock set automatically. My other computer that's right over, that's over there. It's still an hour off on time, and I have to figure out how to change that. But that's neither here nor there. Okay. A couple stories this morning. Life is slowly returning to normal as the first cruise ships resume operation in San Juan, using it as a home port. Explorer of the Seas will call the island home through April of 2022. The Royal Caribbean cruise ship concluded its test sailing last week and will offer guests the opportunity to explore the Eastern and Southern Caribbean, sailing every Sunday starting yesterday. The vessel will give guests the chance to explore a variety of Caribbean islands. This November 7th, the ship sailed on an itinerary calling on St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. Martin, St. Lucia, Barbados, and St. Kitts. Other itineraries include a very Dutch cruise calling on St. Martin, Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, all in the Dutch Antilles. The return of ships to Puerto Rico as a home port marks a return back to normal for the islands, although significant health and safety restrictions remain in place. According to the Royal Caribbean website, guests need to count on substantial testing and vaccination requirements on into the future. All right. The big news over the weekend, another big news, of course, I mentioned it earlier, was Celebrity Constellation sailed out of Tampa. So the Constellation welcomed guests back yesterday. It's the 10th celebrity cruise ship to resume commercial operations. This is an older ship for Celebrity. It was built in 2002. It's marking the brand's return to Tampa after a 13-year hiatus. I know it was a bunch of years. I just didn't remember how many. The Constellation is offering a program of various Caribbean itineraries from the port of Tampa Bay. The first sailing was a 5-night getaway, including calls in Cozumel and Belize. All right. I'll be right back after a word from...
Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise.
Yeah, I love that music. Always have. All right. Los Angeles. They issued a report over the weekend. The Port of Los Angeles is ready for a busy 2022 with more than 200 cruise ship forecast to call. The port said that the departure of the Grand Princess from the port on September 25th signaled the start of a big comeback for cruise operations at the World Cruise Center on the LA waterfront. The more than 200 calls will be made by 11 different cruise lines, including Princess, Norwegian, Oceania, Regent Seven Seas, Viking, Crystal, Seabourn, Cunard, NYK, that's the Japanese line, and Royal Caribbean, with the latter making its return to Los Angeles market for the first time in over a decade. The port said that the cruise travel is a valuable component of the LA tourism economy. A busy cruise weekend with 3 or 4 ships in port brings in as many as 20,000 travelers to the LA waterfront. Each cruise ship call generates more than $1 million in economic activity for LA. Also keep in mind, this does not include Long Beach, which many of us count as Los Angeles as well. That's kept separate. So all of the Carnival cruise line totals are not in these totals. So for LA's purposes, they separate Long Beach and San Pedro. Most of the cruise industry considers it 2 different places in Los Angeles. But anyway, it's going to be a good year for LA, and we're glad to see that. I'm probably going to do, over the course of the remainder of the year, probably 3 cruises from California. I'm looking at 1 from San Diego, 1 from LA, and 1 from San Francisco. Those aren't definite enough yet to put on my schedule. By the way, I do have my schedule on that app thing. However, I'm not sure I like that. So I have not got it figured out how to put it up on my blog yet, on my website, as a special page on there. Whether I want to do a calendar, I don't know. I'm working on that, and I'm going to confer with my designer. That's my son. All right. If some of you probably yesterday listened to the Cruise Amigos, realize that there's some things going on in Europe right now, and it's very fluid. They're changing all sorts of things with differing from country to country with COVID requirements and testing requirements. And the EU has come out with a thing for your phone so you can just flash it. But if you're an American going over there and needing to get that quickly, it's not quickly, it takes several weeks. So if you're planning on going to Europe, you might want to look into that ahead of time. Well, this also broke after the show yesterday that because of COVID-19 cases in Austria, Chancellor Alexander Schallenberg announced that starting November 8th, that's today, only people who have had 2 vaccinations will be allowed into venues like hotels and restaurants, as well as events with more than 25 people. So they're strict, getting pretty strict over there as far as going into any kind of venues, restaurants, bars, whatever. You got to flash that QR code. So it's a little clumsier to travel in Europe because of that. But at least they're open. But if you're going over from the States, you probably want to look into that sooner rather than later. My lead story today had absolutely it's related to travel, but it has very little to do with the nuts and bolts of travel. This was information that was garnered from the New York Times. These folks up in New York. As 2020 wound down, there were good reasons to believe that the death toll among the pandemic's first year might have been worse in red America. There were also good reasons to think it might have been worse in blue America. Conservative areas tend to be older, more hostile to mask wearing. Liberal areas are home to many more international airports, many more travelers, more Americans who suffer the health consequences of racial discrimination. But it turned out that those differences largely offset each other in 2020. Maybe it didn't matter as much as people assumed that it would be one way or the other. But the death toll in blue America and red America were similar by the final weeks of the year. There was only a few percentage points difference when you factored in the people that voted, at least 60% of a county voted for Donald Trump, and compared that with 60% voting for Biden. Those numbers stayed relatively equal. So there just was not strong partisan leanings either way on the COVID situation, who ended up with the bad cases and deaths. That stayed consistent until the vaccines arrived, and that totally changed everything for those areas. The vaccines proved so powerful and the partisan attitudes toward them so different that a gap in COVID's death toll quickly emerged. The brief version, the gap in COVID death toll between red and blue America has grown significantly. In October, 25 out of every 100,000 residents in heavily Trump counties died from COVID. That's more than 3 times the amount in heavily Biden counties, 7.8 per 100,000 deaths. October was the 5th consecutive month that the percentage gap between death rates in Trump counties and Biden counties widened. And the only difference is who got the vaccines and who didn't. So if you're a Democrat, you don't want to be telling the Republicans to go get the vaccine, I guess, because the numbers shift in your favor. I'm sorry, folks, but I'm taking the politics out of the situation. Go get vaccinated. Quit playing political crap with it. Get your kids vaccinated now that they can get from 5 up. And then if there are rules and regulations about it, don't get around them. Follow whatever they're asking us to do. I'm not going to rant anymore on that, folks. I just found the numbers were interesting, that what we thought was happening didn't happen until the vaccines came along, and then it really happened. So, all right, let's go see who's over in the chat room fussing with me today. Hot Air Tom is with us. Carol's with us. Chillie has missed the top of the hour. Tech problem? No. I didn't realize I had missed it. Hope he's okay. How bad did I miss it? I might have been doing something else to sidetrack me. I knew Carol says she knows too well what to do with a Harvey Wallbanger. Glad to hear that. Elizabeth Wizards, greetings from sunny Cozumel. Hi to Chillie and the gang. Hope to have some big news for y'all mañana. I'm not going to say anything, but we might have some big news tomorrow. Cindy's with us. Hey, Cindy. Good to have you back. Gretchen's here. Hot Air Tom, I'm thinking Georgetown, Barbados. Love that island. Ding, 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 ding. Elizabeth was right. Hot Air Tom did get it first. Hot Air adds that one of the Caribbean islands that is not volcanic. That's correct. Rethink the name of the town. Georgetown is Grand Canyon. Oh, yeah, that's right. You said Georgetown. Okay. Amy's with us. She says, howdy. It's Bridgetown, Barbados. Tom. Oops. A brain fart. Yeah, you were close. I knew you knew what it was. So Carol says she did the cave tour in February 2020. Very interesting story about that cave. How about a Princess San Francisco to Hawaii cruise? On the list. That's one I'm looking at. I'm looking at a couple of Hawaii cruises. Trying to fit things in now. That's to me, that's getting to be the fun part of this whole thing. The areas where I want to do things that maybe I've bitten off too much. I'm not sure I need to do the back-to-backs as readily as I want to, but we'll see. Carol says, not yet, but doing a cruise from LA to Tahiti and other ports in March of 23. That's another one on my list. Elizabeth says, I've done the Hawaii run on Princess many times. I was on the Ruby for the entire season a few years ago. Fabulous. Yeah, that's definitely one of them that I'm looking at. Hot Air says our first European embarkation is September 23rd on Prima. Emily should be there too if she doesn't back out and disappoint me. We'll have to keep on her, Hot Air. Gretchen says ours is June 11th, Barcelona to Rome, spending a couple days in Rome. Who knows what hoops we'll have to jump through to come home by then. Yeah, that's we're just going to have to play it by ear. But the alternative is, not doing it. So we got to jump through the hoops. Rather do that. Gretchen says, boy, that's cold, Chillie. Yeah, well, that's the way it was. Uh-oh. Elizabeth says, I'm still amigo on the screen. Yes, I didn't change that yesterday after the show. Matter of fact, I didn't change it before the show. So then I had to edit it during the show, which, I mean, it's very simple to do. Like, I just did it. But anyway, thanks, Elizabeth. You caught it. I didn't. Cindy says, my first European embarkation is September 20th on Epic. 2 days in Rome. First. Yeah. One of the things that I'm not entirely sure about is whether or not I'm going to be able to do Europe. I'm still working on some of the details on that. Craig Custer, that MYT report has very little merit. There are many Republicans that gladly took the vaccine. I feel very little correlation between voting status and vaccine status. And Craig, don't get me wrong. I was not intending it to come out that way as it did. It's just that, yeah, I'd like to see all of it non-political. There are people out there that are still making it way too much political. And I'm saying one way or the other, both sides. I'd like to see it all non-political so we can seriously, all of us, stay back to traveling and cruising. Jack's with us. Hi, Jack. How you doing, my friend, down in Conroe, Texas? But anyway, that's gonna wrap me up for today. It looks like it. If you are new to this channel, we're here every day at 11 o'clock. Try to cover the latest in travel and cruise industry news. And how we're planning out ahead with all of our cruising that we're intending to do. So hopefully we're going to maybe have some news from Elizabeth on location tomorrow. We're going to wait and see on that. I hope we do have some news from her, but we shall see. Yeah, Amy says, unfortunately, the New York Times is a very political paper. Yes, and they're very liberal-oriented paper. So, gotta take that in stride, keep that in mind as well. But anyway, yeah, let's quit making it political. That's why I hate politics. I hate politicians. So, all right, that's going to wrap me up, guys. I will see you again tomorrow morning, same time, same channel, at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. For now, this is the old fat travel guy. You guys stay safe, stay healthy, plan cruises, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.